Welcome to the 3 Knockdown Rule. Starring Mario Lopez and Steve Kim. Presented by Hustler Casino and UFC Fight Pass.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 3 Knockdown Rule is in effect. I'm Steve Kim, joined by my host, the Mole, Mario Lopez. More on that later.
You know what? I was just going to ask what happened to my monikers, and then you give me a shady one, you rap bastard. You're coming in all painted out, looking good right here. More on that later. We're going to have to flurry that.
You know, we've got a lot to talk about. Josh Taylor, Teofimo Lopez. We're going to preview that matchup, and we're joined on the championship hotline by the one and only Bob Arum.
Legend.
Jaime Munguia returns on the zone. Oscar versus King Rye. Boy, that was a Twitter battle for the ages last week. We have Ask Mario and Final Flurries. But before we get started, this show is brought to you by the Hustler Casino. It's our favorite local LA casino and home of the most popular poker live stream in the world. Poker, Pai Gow, Blackjack, Old Maid, Go Fish. You could play at all VIP tables. It's a Southern California staple since the year 2000.
Yes. Also, shout out to our sponsor and neighbor right here in Hollywood, Oscar Lopez from Scout Micro LA. They offer a unique and innovative hair loss solution for men. You don't have to be worried about taking pills or any of that. They basically do a pigmentation known as SMP, and Scout Micro has hair restoration that replicates the exact hair follicles by basically tattooing the illusion of hair. It sounds wild, but it looks amazing. Brings the hairline. You're rocking like a 5 head. You'll go back to a 4 head or a 3 head right there, and you can see results as little as 1 treatment. They restore hairlines, like I said, give the illusion of more density, and I'm telling you, men, that can mess with your confidence. This could get you right back on the right road right there. They use the highest qualities for all their procedures and the tools. So if you're going bald or you're just looking for a new look this summer, call our friends over at Scout Micro LA and mention this ad for a free consultation. They do great work over there.
Yeah, and if you're getting thin, he'll help fill it in.
Hey, oh, look at you. That's a good tagline.
Thank you. All right. Now we get started. Round number 1 from the theater at Madison Square Garden in New York on ESPN for the Junior Welterweight Championship of the World. The Tartan Tornado blows into town. Josh Taylor takes on Teofimo Lopez. Mario, I think it's the battle of the unknowns. One guy hasn't fought in a while, and the other guy's been shaky for a year and a half, 2 years.
You're exactly right. That's what's fascinating about this. Now, look, following them both on social media, they both look like they're coming in really good shape. They're taking this fight really seriously. But like you said, there's so many variables out there with not being active in Josh Taylor's case. With Teo going through a lot, he always seems to be going through a lot of stuff outside the ring, personal matters, and you know, his dad being the character who he is. We don't know how much of a distraction that is. I'm going to be there. Fortunately, I will be in New York for the TriBeCa Festival. More on that later. But I'm looking forward to seeing it, Madison Square Garden. And I really don't know, Kim, what's going to happen because, look, Taylor, who's I think sort of struggled to make this weight for a while now, will this, and he is getting a little bit older, will this be a little too taxing on his body? Will it finally show in the ring? But he's such a master in there in making adjustments, such a consummate boxer, and he's seen so many great styles. I don't think Teo's going to present anything that he's not necessarily used to. But Teo, who looks in its prime physical shape, will he mentally be ready? Because we know when he's focused what he can do a la Loma, and if he's able to be victorious, he can kind of pick up his momentum that he had in that fight and sort of be the king of that division again. So I'm waiting to see. There's a lot at stake here, I think, for this particular fight.
Mario, you mentioned his age. Taylor's now 32, but what concerns me is he has not fought since February of 2022. And Jack Catterall, crafty little guy, and
a lot of people thought he won that,
including me.
Yeah.
And so the layoff is something that concerns me along with the age. As for Teofimo Lopez, this is his 3rd fight now as a full-fledged junior welterweight. There comes a time where you have to grow into your weight and be that guy. Here's the issue that I see with Teofimo. I don't know where his head's at. The
that's
T
the thing.
in Teofimo stands for turbulent. It's always a little bit of something. Do you get the sense, though, because we were very high on him. I think we helped build that bandwagon. And obviously a lot has happened since that night when he beat Loma. Do you think this is Top Rank's way of saying, okay, sink or swim?
I think
For both guys, maybe.
Maybe, but I also think Teo longs for these kind of fights. And that, look, he was clamoring for the Loma fight when no one was, right?
Yes.
And so I think it's a similar situation. I don't think anyone's like knocking down the door to face Taylor in their third fight at junior welter. But here he is. So he sort of puts his money where his mouth is, and he's obviously very confident. But based on his last performance, I know they're different styles. You know, it's interesting, and it's been a minute. And based on Taylor's last performance, it's a fascinating fight. Again, I really don't know.
It's the battle of the unknowns.
It's the battle of the unknowns, which makes it really intriguing and exciting.
Mario, me and you were both there in Las Vegas. This was still during the pandemic when Taylor captured the undisputed title by beating Jose Ramirez.
Looked excellent that night.
Okay, think about this. That's a long time ago, really. He's had one fight.
I know.
Think about that. He's not been very active, so I don't know what version of Taylor exists. Prior to the Catterall fight, people were thinking you're one of the top 5 fighters in the world. You thought he could actually reasonably challenge Terrence Crawford at 47. And when you don't fight often, those one fights, people say you're only as good as your last fight. In today's boxing, that's absolutely true. With that said, he is the betting favorite. So the sharps have him at about a minus 180. Not quite 2-1, but certainly I wouldn't exactly call this Buster Douglas against Mike Tyson. I know we had problems with the southpaw in Sandor Martin the last time, but we talked about this with Joe Tessitore. Sandor Martin is a guy that circles the ring. Taylor's a guy that's in and out with linear movement. I think it's a little bit easier of a southpaw style to face.
It's, on paper, a better style for Teo, to tell you the truth. And you're right. On the heels of Ramirez, I thought he is big enough, and he might even be stronger with sturdier legs to go up to welterweight and actually face the top guys there and be successful. But again, the variables that we mentioned, I'm dying to see it, and I can't wait to be there.
All right, also on this card, that'll be televised by ESPN, Xander Zayas will take on Ronald Cruz. All right, we come back. We talk to the one and only chairman of Top Rank Boxing, Bob Arum, but a word from our sponsors.
Streaming live right on YouTube.
Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
$1.2 million.
And I'm losing in this fucking game. What the fuck?
There's a 400K flip. If I win by way, you get 10 grand.
Fucking straddle!
For my fans!
What? I read it twice!
Wow. All in a call.
I'm not fucking leaving!
Raise it up.
And we're back on the 3 Knockdown Rule. Mario Lopez, Steve, Kim, and joining us on the championship hotline, one of our favorite guests.
Legend.
Yes, the chairman of Top Rank Boxing, the one and only Bob Arum. Bob, great to have you join us on this Monday morning. Bob, this weekend you have a big fight. What was the thinking behind throwing in Teofimo right after his struggles with Sandor Martin with Josh Taylor?
Well, we had Taylor, and Taylor was looking for a big fight at 140, and Teofimo and Taylor is a very, very exciting fight. Those are the fights that we like to do where the betting odds are so close, where there are people on either side backing one or the other of the fighters, rather than a fight that is, pretty long odds, because most people know or expect who the winner will be. Here, there's arguments both sides.
We were just discussing that, Bob, that there's so many different variables. I honestly don't know which way to lean. However, I am excited that I'm going to have the opportunity to be there in New York and see it in person. So thank you so much for that. What are you hearing as far as the camps? It's interesting because Taylor, it's been a while since he was last in the ring, of course, against Catterall in Teo, based on his last performance against a guy who had a very tricky style. It seems to be genuine in their disdain for each other. But what are you hearing coming out of both camps?
Well, let's take Taylor. Taylor is an incredibly good boxer, incredibly good. I don't know what the hell happened to him in the Catterall fight, but Taylor is very, very good. I mean, as he showed against a top competitor like Jose Ramirez, and he hits really, really quick, hard punches that he'll knock a guy down, that's how he won the fight with Ramirez. So, I mean, Taylor is always going to be a tough out. He went through all of the junior welterweights in that tournament they had, and he's really top. And then Teofimo sort of seemed to go a little bad after the Cambosa nonsense, where he had physical problems making the weight and all of that sort of stuff. But I sent Derek Harmon, who works for Top Rank, down to Florida to be with Teofimo while he was training. And Harmon, who was a top light heavyweight in his time and knows boxing, says that Teofimo is in incredible shape, no weight problem at all, and he's sparring with some top left-handed sparring partners, including this Cuban that's supposed to be very good, and he's doing very well.
Bob, two questions from
that. Anything else is baloney. All it looks like is that Taylor is in really good shape, no problem with the weight, and he's very confident. And Teofimo's had a wonderful training camp. I just talked to the kid yesterday, and he tells me how confident he's feeling and how good he's feeling. So I think we're in for a really good, solid fight.
So, Bob, would you say as of right now, and I know these things are very fluid, that your company's relationship with Teofimo Lopez is on solid, firm ground?
Well, it's Teofimo Lopez. So, again, there's no real firm ground, but we have, we've been with Teofimo for all of his career. We have a contract with Teofimo. He's upset, not at us, but apparently at some things the ESPN commentators may have said or not said. But, I calmed him down. I tell him, if you're a fighter, you got to just ignore what people say. He told me he had some problem with Tim Bradley. I told him not to worry. Bradley won't be there because he'll be in Canastota being inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame. So he's not going to be part of the telecast. So that sort of calmed Teofimo down.
Social media, boy, these guys let it get into their head. And I'll tell you what, speaking of which, Tyson Fury's immediate future. He loves to get himself on social media and start talking about potential matches with MMA fighters and then calling out every other fighter out in the book. And I love me some Tyson Fury. God bless him. But what are the plans for the immediate?
Let me ask you, Mario, a question. Where do you think Tyson Fury is now?
Where? I haven't
No.
the slightest.
You'd never guess. He's in Thailand.
Doing what?
I don't know what he's doing there. He's getting on vacation.
Oh, he's just hanging out.
Just hanging out.
He's
Yeah.
hanging out
in Thailand, right? But hopefully, our hope is that we'll be able to arrange a match for him this summer in London, and then look forward to a possible fight with Usyk in the winter.
Bob, let me ask you, outside of boxing, do you ever entertain any of these sort of gimmick fights, which can obviously do big business, like him against a UFC champion, John Jones or Ngannou? Is that something you would ever entertain?
Well, it depends on our role. For example, when Jake Paul fought Tommy Fury, we handled the U.S. television for Jake Paul's company and did very well for him and for us. So again, I don't look particularly for these gimmick matches, but I'm not going to be a hypocrite because I had last week or 2 weeks ago, I had this Japanese broadcasting crew in my office quizzing me about a fight that happened long ago between Muhammad Ali and Inoki, the wrestler.
I remember that. I have a T-shirt with that.
That was what a piece of junk, right? I mean, it was terrible. Okay,
That's right.
Well,
it was not a fun fight.
but again, so yeah, it would all depend. It would all depend. I don't want to have Top Rank present anything that looks like it's just a money grab. That's a lot of nonsense. I mean, there were circumstances back then which required me to do that Ali and Oki thing, but I'm not very proud of it.
Speaking of something from Japan that's not a piece of junk, what a fight we have between Nenu Inoue and Stephen Fulton. Bob, my question is this. If Inoue comes out victorious and becomes the unified champion at 122, and I've asked you this before, and I want to know if anything changes. Is there any chance that Inoue makes a return and fights in front of the U.S. fans?
Yeah, there is, because we are still connected with Inoue and his promoter, Arashi, and Honda-san. And we hope to have him next year fight at least one time in the United States. That's the plan. I'm going over to Japan in July for his fight. And we also have our 126-pound champion, Robesy Ramirez, the Cuban, who's a terrific fighter, fighting a Japanese fighter. And down the road, I can see Inoue fighting Robesy Ramirez, which would be a hell of a fight at 126.
I would love to see him out here and in person. Bob, let me ask you, what are the chances of a possible Loma-Haney rematch?
Well, I haven't talked to Bill about it. Bill is doing what a manager should do, and he's a father, but he's a manager also. And that's to look for the best opportunity for Devin. What I can come up three in my imagination. One may be the winner of Taylor and Teofimo at 140, if he wants to go up in weight. Secondly, there is a fight with Shakur that would be massive because everybody would want to see that fight. And third is the rematch. So, hopefully, if Bill comes to New York for the Teofimo Taylor fight, I'll sit with him and we'll have he's a very intelligent guy, and we'll discuss all the options that we at Top Rank can offer. And then he has to weigh it against what any other promoter would offer to determine what he wants to do next. But we've enjoyed promoting Devin and hope it continues.
Bob, in August, Dmitry Bivol is going to need a fight. He hasn't fought this year. And your guy, Artur Beterbiev, is defending against Count Smith in August in Quebec City on ESPN+. Does the WBC edict involving Russia preclude Beterbiev and Bivol from becoming a real possibility this year, in your view?
Yes. Yes, the WBC has made its views known. I am very sympathetic to the WBC views. I am 100% support Ukraine and its fight against aggression. So I am not going to push a Bivol Beterbiev fight. And then you might say, well, isn't Beterbiev a Russian? And the answer is no, not really, because he has had a residential visa in Canada for 14 years. So I look at him as being Canadian, and also he's Chechnyan. And the reason that Chechnya is still part of Russia is because Putin bombed the crap out of them and destroyed the place and had them succumb to his overwhelming military force. So again, I don't want to do anything that supports Russia in any way. So I applaud Mauricio for the position that he's taken.
Bob, things can change in this world. So let's say things lighten up over there and the BC takes away that ruling or that edict. Would then that change your view on the fight?
Yeah, I love the fight. I love the fight. I love the fight. I'm not gonna do it against principles that a lot of us hold dear. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Bivol. He seems like a nice fellow. And Vadim Kornilov, who's his manager, is a terrific guy. But it is what it is.
I know. Hopefully that will get worked out, because that's actually my number one fight that I'd like to see. Beterbiev and Bivol. Just incredibly intrigued to see how that would play out.
Well, Beterbiev doesn't have a walk in the park against this Callum Smith, who's a hell of a fighter, big banger and so forth, and coming to win the fight. I'm looking forward to that. August in Quebec. I'm going on a diet before I get there, because the food in Quebec is the best in the world. It really is. It's better than French food in Paris.
Wow.
It really is sensation.
Oh, God. Yeah, you make me want to go now.
Come up and have a good meal. Yeah.
Bob, before we wrap it up here, and first of all, thank you for your time. I know it was the day before Loma Haney, and we were all in Las Vegas, and the news broke in the afternoon about the passing of the great Jim Brown, who played a pivotal role in your life and career. Can you just give us some of your thoughts on him?
Well, Jim was a real activist in his day. I mean, he was such a presence. It was, he had an air about him that brought about instant respect. I mean, every player really held him in awe. He was an activist in a way that I think led to a lot of changes in American life. And I was always in awe of him because of his determination and his mental capacity. He was a really smart guy. And, he affected my life and my career, because without Jim Brown, like I tell everybody, I'd probably be a retired judge from the tax court, instead of still being a boxing promoter at 91. So, I mean, my whole career is based on Jim Brown getting me involved in boxing with Muhammad Ali. And no question about it. Without Jim Brown, I wouldn't be doing this Zoom call with you guys.
That's such an awesome story. That's a good 30 for 30 special right there. Mr. Arum, thank you so much for your time. It's always such a pleasure to
you guys coming to New York?
I'm going to be in New York.
And I'll be watching intently. I'll be watching from ESPN Plus on with your prospect.
But I will be there. Excited to be there, straight from the TriBeCa Festival to ringside to this Madison Square Garden. And reporting on it the next week.
What festival?
TriBeCa.
The TriBeCa Festival. Going from there straight to your fight, sir.
A TriBeCa Festival?
Yes, sir.
Fight? and then the Puerto Rican Day Parade.
Wepa.
Mexican heritage. You don't. I mean, let's tip our hats to the,
Wepa.
That's
to
right.
the
That's a
Caribbean Hispanics.
heck of a weekend right there. Heck
Right.
of a weekend, Bob.
All right. Well, Bob, as always, a pleasure to have you join us. We'll see you, or at least Mario will see you, and I'll talk to you soon, Bob. Thank you for your time.
Take care.
And we're back on the 3 Knockdown Rule. We'd like to thank Bob Arum, the chairman of Top Rank. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to get involved with the 3 Knockdown Rule and sponsor our show, we still have some slots available. Please reach out to us by emailing info@boxbid.io. Once again, that's info@boxbid.io. Boxbid.io is an online platform that is launching soon that helps public figures and professionals in the world of boxing get sponsorships. We are proudly working with boxbid.io. A lot to cover here. Now we move on to the fight review and fight preview. Saturday night, Little Caesars Arena in Detroit, Michigan. Clarissa Shields retains her middleweight titles by clearly outpointing Marcela Corneo. And a lot going on for the fight preview this week. Loaded schedule. Thursday night, Fantasy Springs Casino on the Zone. Golden Boy Promotions presents another card headlined by Manuel Flores. And then Friday, from Showbox as part of the Hall of Fame ceremonies this week. Good weekend out there in Verona, New York. We have a Showbox card. And then Don King Promotions, it is the return this week, not last week, of Adrian Broner taking on Bill Hutchinson. And then Mario, our good friend, Tom Loeffler, 360 Promotions. This will be on the UFC Fight Pass from the Commerce Casino. Make sure you tune in. Callum Walsh, fine Irish lad, will be taking on Carson Jones. So
They've been
good luck
putting
to
on
them.
great shows. We saw a couple of them, and I've been to all the ones over at the Quiet Cannon. Now they moved over to Commerce. Tom's been putting on great shows, and UFC Fight Pass really been getting into the boxing game, so it's a lot of fun. If you're in the area, you should definitely check it out.
Yeah, Tom Loeffler certainly knows how to build a star from the ground up. Then Saturday, the feature fight of this weekend outside of New York from Ontario, California at the Toyota Center on the Zone. I guess this is actually a super middleweight battle, technically. Jaime Munguia takes on Sergey Derevchenko. Okay, Mario, you know at one time I was a big fan of Munguia. But right now, his career, he's moving backwards like Michael Jackson doing the moonwalk at the 83 Motown Classic television special. What's going on here?
Well, are you blaming Munguia? Because you said you're a big fan. Does that mean you're no longer a fan?
I'm wavering. I'm fair. I'm fair and I'm firm like Joe
frustrated.
Cortez.
You're frustrated.
I'm frustrated. Yes, aren't you?
Well, yeah, I am frustrated. I don't necessarily take it out on him, though. I think he does put the time in, and I think that he does work hard. He's a nice kid. I like the pairing with him and Morales, but I think that you pretty much have the same sentiment as anyone else. Is like, yo, he's got to step it up because he's got a lot of fights under his belts. Time for a title shot. Time for him to go to that next level, especially if he's looking impressive this Saturday, which I expect him to do. Tough customer, a guy that's tailor-made for him, at least on paper. We'll see how it plays out. A lot of fights this weekend. Exciting.
Yeah, and Mario, I'm just going to say this. For those who say, well, Munguia's young, let him develop, folks. This is a fact. He's 41-0.
That's a lot of fights.
Okay, he's 26 years old. He's not that young. He's been a former world champion. Eric Gomez told me something interesting. I said, what's the big fight if it's not going to be Charlo? Because we don't know when Charlo's coming back. Either one. He said, well, you know a fight that he likes? I go, what? David Benavidez.
I heard names like Benavidez and Canelo. I'd rather him take on Triple G if he's still fighting prior to that, to be honest with you. He can't go that. Look, I want him to take a title shot. I was hoping more of a Charlo. That's a little too...
Stylistically, that's a hell of a fun fight.
Oh,
though.
it's a fun fight. I don't know if he's necessarily...
more fun for Benavidez.
Yeah, so it might be more fun for Benavidez. I don't know if he's necessarily ready for that particular fight yet, but I like that he's at least asking for it.
Okay, moving on to news and notes. What an eventful Thursday night it was. Me and you just hanging out, doing whatever. Everyone's just having a nice, tranquil day, looking through the week. All of a sudden, on Twitter, Oscar De La Hoya let his hands go like it was 12th round against Ike Corte. He got sick and tired and sick of Ryan Garcia. Oh, they're at it again.
Well, you know what's frustrating? And look, I know both of them. Obviously, Oscar's a friend of mine. I know Ryan. But here's the thing. It's never a good look when one of your fighters and you being the promoter is talking bad about you or like you're betraying him. That's never a good look. At some point, you got to stick up for yourself and just kind of put it out there. Oscar basically said, hey, look, when Ryan was saying my team wasn't there for me, Oscar was saying, what are you talking about, man? He's all, it's time to start taking a little self-responsibility. You were the one that agreed to these terms. You were the one asking for this fight that didn't put us in a good position as far as negotiating.
Wouldn't even let him negotiate
Exactly.
those terms, by the way.
So we had to adhere to the weight, the rehydration clause, all those things. So they kind of tied
even the late weigh-in.
They kind of tied Golden Boy's hands. When you're saying I want it no matter what, then you're not giving them a lot of leverage in negotiations. So you kind of got to be careful what you wish for, and then you can't complain about it a little bit later. But at the end of the day, that's all irrelevant because it's still you who got in there, Kim.
Mario, let me just say this. And I've been critical of Oscar in the past when he doesn't show up to events. And I'm going to be consistent. Win, lose, or draw, he had to be there at the post-fight press conference. He should have gone. But with that said, that had nothing to do with the results of the fight, had nothing to do with what led up to the fight. And let's go even further. Ryan is the one who said, nah, I don't want to fight Mercito Hesta late January. I don't need a tune-up. He's the one who made the decision to only go to Joe Goossen's gym 3 days a week. There comes a point in time where this is on you. Instead of, you know what happens when you point the finger?
There's 3 more pointing back.
3 coming right back. Now, with that said, Golden Boy they've treated him like a Fabergé egg. You can argue that they've enabled him, they've allowed this to happen, they've pampered him, and then all of a sudden becomes like that monster that you can't control. So now King Ryanstein, now wants to turn on everybody. But at the end of the day, Ryan, there comes a point where it's on you and nobody else. You put yourself into this situation, and let's be fair to Oscar. The only reason why he spoke up on Thursday is because it turns out Ryan, the day or two before, did an interview lamenting this stuff, talking about, my team wasn't behind him, almost like framing it in a way, well, then Golden Boy did all this stuff. No, the only thing that happened with Golden Boy is that one guy didn't show up to the post-fight presser. That's on Ryan. I know look, do I think Oscar should have publicly gone out there and thrown him under the bus? No, it's not a great look. But at the same time, nothing that De La Hoya said was incorrect.
He was put out names, too. Look, and I think that Ryan's got a lot of people in his ear. And whether those people have an agenda or his best interest, then that's for him to decide. But clearly, if I'm a fighter, I'm listening to the guy that's been there before. The guy that's been in the trenches, that has had a Hall of Fame career. It's considered one of the greats and is now my promoter. Everybody else doesn't have that same experience. They don't have that shared experience. They don't know. So if it was me, I'd be listening to De La Hoya.
Moving on, Tank Davis violates his house arrest or for whatever summer vacation plans he's had.
Yo, my guy was living it up at the Four Seasons.
Right.
That's a nice crib.
Yeah, and the judge said, nah.
When I saw it, I said, wait, this is comical. Is this for real?
Right. I don't know what to say. Look, I hope he rehabs. I hope he's better.
How much time does he have to do now?
90 days. So it goes his summer vacation.
Oh, that sucks. Right in the middle of summer.
Yeah, he'll make it for the Labor Day barbecue, though, won't we?
Well,
90 days.
yeah, Labor Day. Okay.
Also, it's the return of Boots Ennis. He'll be taking on Roy Monvilla on July 8th on Showtime. All right, so the Ask Mario segment of this fine program. Here's one from Clay Stevenson, longtime fan of the show. Hey, Mario, has Oscar mentally moved on from Ryan and now focusing in on other Golden Boy fighters like Virgil Ortiz, Floyd Schofield, and Eric Priest?
No, look, it's like when you have children. Anybody out there who's a parent knows. Sometimes they'll frustrate you, piss you off, and you got to spank them once in a while and scold them, what have you. But they're still your kids. You're still looking out for them. You still love them.
They still have a contract too.
Yeah, and
so 2026. That's
a contract. That's a lot of years, and it's a very ironclad contract. So they'll figure it out.
I don't think they have a choice. The bottom line is, I would ask Ryan, what has Golden Boy done that has been against your career? You're the one who's pulled out of fights. You're the one who has said mental health. I got to be mindful of it.
They were very supportive during that time, too.
And delayed your career. They bent over backwards and made you a priority over other fighters. There comes a point in time that you just got to be a pro. And you remember when they signed that contract in 2019, they were already having problems. They took a video in Oscar's office where Ryan and Oscar hugged. This is the greatest contract ever for a prospect. Now we're ready to go. And I said to somebody in Golden Boy's office, I said, within 3 fights, he'll be complaining about it. And I was wrong. It only took 2. All right, here's one from the only Sanch. Ask that part-time tequila distributor, Mario L. Lopez, is there a better fight to be made than Fulton versus Inoue? But more importantly, is the Julio Cesar Chavez biopic in pre-production yet? Any news?
Well, to answer his first question, that's a fantastic fight, which I'm looking forward to, and we
Tuesday
already answered
morning.
that.
Tuesday morning.
I know that's random with the Tuesday, but
Well, it's
they've
Japan.
happened, they've happened before.
It's the land of the rising sun. They do a
no
little different.
applause. It's going to be great.
It's very demure, yeah.
Just mentioned earlier in talking with Arum, we love to see Beterbiev and Bivol. To me, that's one of the best fights that can be made. And as far as the Julio. Doc, exciting stuff. Those things take a minute, but we're taking steps in that right direction.
So, moves are being made.
So moves are being made, but I'm excited about that.
So your people called those people who called other people. I like it. Okay, finishing up here on Final Flurries. Mario, you spoke of the TriBeCa Film Festival. What's going on there?
Well, it plays into our theme here. My buddy Marc Wahlberg and I produced a doc on De La Hoya that is going to be a couple parts premiering on HBO broadcast, and it entails is everything.
Everything.
The
now,
whole career.
when you
It's
say
on-
everything,
Yo,
does that mean everything? 'Cause you know what
everything.
people are going to say by everything.
In the ring, out of the ring, all the drama. Oscar, who just turned 50, by the way, and it has never been so vulnerable and honest about it. Because I told him, I said, hey, Holmes, you're going to do this. You got to really come correct and really just put it all out there. Because when you saw The Last Dance with Jordan, he was very vulnerable and honest, but he didn't have a lot of the stuff that was going on with that. So Oscar's got a lot. And the thing about Oscar, because he is such a nice guy at the end of the day, no matter what, my guy will fail upward. He just stays winning, right? Give me another boxer that's had a successful promotional career outside of
with the real company, none other.
None other.
None other.
So that's what I'm saying. He's literally the only one. So he just kind of stays winning. But through that, a lot of ebbs and flows and drama and colorful stuff that happens in his life. Compelling doc.
Can't wait to watch this.
Yeah, I'm really proud of the way it turned out. And it's going to open the TriBeCa Festival in New York. So I'm going to be checking that out. And the very next day, checking out Lopez Taylor. I might squeeze in the Belmont Stakes. Because, you know, my neighbor, I told you, my neighbor is Bob Baffert.
Oh, really?
Bob Baffert, he's like the Bill Belichick of horse training. He just won the Preakness. So I thought that was wild. So,
What's
so
the
it's
one
going to be an action-packed weekend.
What was the toughest thing to get out of Oscar for him to open up about?
He was pretty open about everything, to be honest with you. Everything.
Everything.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait to watch everything.
All the drama.
About
he was
everything.
Yeah,
Oh.
it took sometimes
I can't wait.
it took a minute. I don't want to spoil anything right there, but everything and
everything.
and all the memes and all the stuff you see.
That's what you guys should call
be there.
Oscar De La Hoya. Everything. That should be the title.
I think it was
Everything.
one of the log lines. Nothing's more powerful than the truth, or something like that.
Everything.
So yeah, exactly.
Mario, I know you're making a good living because you are able to actually afford Dodger Yankee tickets.
Yo,
living good.
Those were like World Series prizes because the Yankees don't come here too often, right? And I hadn't seen him play here at Dodger Stadium, so I really wanted to make sure to go. And it was the one sunny day we had here because it's been like Seattle here, right? It's like it's raining today as we do this.
It's been gray.
Doom and gloom, and it was a blast. I've sat next to my guy LL Cool J now for I was with him at that Sugar Ray Leonard fights. He looks great. Think about this though, Kim. My guy has been a star since 1987 as a rapper. He looks great, and he was 14 seasons on NCIS LA, and now he's doing NCIS Hawaii. Is that crazy?
Still rocking the bells.
Dude, rocking the bells, and I was playing a lot of his music on the way
He
home.
needs love.
Yes. Dude,
He's bad.
Dude, all the songs, a lot of the songs, they are all love. That
Did
was
he
in
bring
an
it
era,
around the way, girl?
Around the way. He loves a girl with extensions in her hair. 2 bamboo earrings.
Did Mama say knock you out?
Exactly. 2 bamboo earrings, at least 2 pair. I didn't finish that line. But real cool dude. So got to hang with him. Dude, Aaron Judge. My guy, 6'8", 285.
giant.
Dude, he's a giant. Struck out 3 times and hit a home run.
You got your money's worth then. You
Got my money's worth. It was a really good time. They happen to lose that game, but they're still hanging in there. But it was a lot of fun.
All right, we want to thank everyone that made this show possible. Our special guest, Bob Arum, has a big show this weekend. I'd like to thank all our sponsors of the 3 Knockdown Rule and UFC Fight Pass. One last reminder, if you want to sponsor our fine program, send an email to info@boxbid.io. Once again, that's info@boxbid.io. So on behalf of Mario Lopez, this is Steve Kim saying, till the next round, goodbye, everybody.